All right, Kristin just got her second win of the year, marking her second win where she didn't necessarily look dominant, but won. Let's talk about it. All right, so going into this weekend, I think it was still pretty clear that the favorite was Kristin. With it said, we also have had 7 unique winners to date this season. So there's definitely some variety. I think there was lots of people thinking that maybe Katrina or maybe Paige would get it back together, but that just does not seem to be the case. Both Paige and Kat finished outside the top 10, and not just outside top 10. They finished Katrina 18th place and Paige 27th place. So I think it is definitely a new era. You can't just win with a decent couple rounds. You have to get all 3 together. Sort of. We'll talk about that later. And that is just not something that they've really done much this year. Like, they both have had 1 win each, but it has not looked dominant in any way whatsoever. So getting this new field of players that all have a great skill set in their own individual way is really electric and fun to watch. But you can clearly see they do not have what it takes to finish out the final round in most cases, because basically everybody in the top 10 starting out was nowhere close to Kristin's score, and the person that was Rebecca Cox, who jumped 12 places and got 4th place, but was still 8 strokes behind Kristin. So there's certainly this barrier, or whatever you want to call it, where these elite level players just don't have what it takes, or better said, they just don't have the experience of these final round jitters that you must cope with, especially if you want to take home first place against one of the greats, Kristin Tattar. So looking at her first round, it was pretty good. I think there wasn't really much to say about it. It was looking like, oh yeah, she's probably going to take it down, but maybe not. There's like some people that are clawing at the lead. We had Holland and Macy that were really neck and neck with her, just a little bit of a couple strokes behind, but it really showed that Kristin's back 9 was way superior to her front 9. That proved true the entire duration of the weekend, and that's where other players really started to fall off, because she had a 6 under through the back 9 for the first round, and you could just really tell that once she gets that momentum going, she starts to play lights out. But certainly an important thing to know here with round 1 is she didn't make a single circle 2 putt, and her circle 1 percentage was really not great at all, 64%. I think basically most of the top 10 players were beating that number. And then you have round 2, where it just looks like everything's kind of falling apart. Kristin was playing pretty lazy, especially on the start, hole 1. A pretty routine upshot, goes right into the bushes, pitches out, doesn't even quite get out of the bushes. He pitches out again, and then her layup / putt was short, so she had to make another putt. That putt hits chains, bounces out, and she gets a 7. And at this point, I would say I was thinking that Kristin was definitely out of it. I did not think there was any way that she could reasonably get the win here. I was just like, oh yeah, she is just really falling off. And you could say that she did better over the course of that round, but really she didn't. She had 4 birdies and 5 bogeys after that point. So she finished with a 4 over, which I cannot even remember the last time that I've seen Kristin do a round like that. This wasn't really just like a few mistakes here and there. This was kind of like a complete failure. And what I find very interesting is that in the post-round interview, Kristin states that she was just feeling really sad and alone those first 2 rounds.
First 2 rounds were just miserable for me. Yesterday I felt so sad on the course, so lonely for some reason, and
rounds, which is shocking that she got a 4 under, and that was her playing really sad and alone. But second round, she just played way worse, 8 strokes worse. And I think there's certainly something mentally going on with Kristin. It could definitely be the fact that she just doesn't have enough practice because of her injury and because of her offseason being very limited, that she just doesn't really have the same feel and finesse and power and drive that she did last year. There was so much momentum going for her, and this year she's probably dealing with a lot of annoying injury related things that are just bringing her down. I'm sure being away from her kid is also bringing her down. So there's probably just a lot of factors at play here. And she had just come back from Estonia, where she got to spend quality time with her family and kid. But it's also crazy to see that even with these factors, she still played phenomenal and ended with the most insane comeback round I think I've ever seen, besides like maybe a Paul round. And the final round was just totally all Kristin. There was nobody really in contention. There was areas where there was a 3 to 4 stroke deficit that you thought maybe she could crumble, but it just did not happen. 8 birdies, 1 bogey, 100% circle 1X, just totally insane compared to her first round and second round, and then managed to sneak 1 circle 2 putt. So overall, the play here from Kristin is phenomenal for 1 round, you could say. But overall, it is just very lackluster, I would say. And I say this as somebody that knows that Kristin has an insanely high potential. Of course, her playing lackluster and still getting the win is totally insane to say, but I think it is pretty clear that there's just so much more that she could be doing. And it really is an instance where there's just not really another contender at the moment. And basically, if she doesn't falter in these tournaments, she is basically guaranteed to win. And I'm just really hoping that we get to see this prime version of Kristin where she wins by 10, 15, 20 strokes. I know know it sounds a little bit outrageous right now, but until we get another 1 or 2 contenders that can really take down Kristin, I just don't foresee anybody getting many wins this year, especially for any of the majors. I could see a world where Paige really shows up, but I think that Paige and Kat are just not feeling it this year, and I think that their drive is just a lot lower. And then you have all these players that are fighting and grinding, getting new contracts, working their butts off, working as much as they possibly can to try to be the best player that they can. You can tell that they're getting much, much better than they were last year even, but they just are not able to finish in the same way that Kristin is. And I think Macy is the number one example of this. There were so many opportunities where you really thought she was going to take it home. She was playing very strong, consistent, but getting 2 doubles in your final round just won't cut it when you're trying to get that win. And then looking at Kristin's stats, it really was not that amazing. She did have a pretty good strokes gained tee to green with a 14.78. All of her putting stats was pretty meh, and then her overall OB rate was decent, but she still did go OB about once a round. Some overall thoughts: Kristin did great, but I know that she can do so much better. I'm excited to see what will come of her in the future. The competition really needs to step up, play more consistently in that final round to get anywhere close to Kristin range. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that actually looks like, but for now we just have to wait and see if the Kristin reign will ever fall. Thank you guys for watching. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs signing out. Peace.